Hey, have you ever been watching TV and came across these car TV shows where they find an old wreck and then they fix it up and it's all nice and satisfying? Well, me and my dad have definitely watched those. But not anymore because we don't have cable TV, since you can watch my YouTube videos for free, just like you can subscribe for free, since like 90% of you aren't subscribed. Like, come on, what's with that? Have you ever noticed that when actually watching these shows, they often skip a very important part? That's the actual fixing of the car, specifically the actual body work, because one point you see it's all dented and rusty, and then the next point they're painting it, or it's already done. Like, what happened to all the body work and everything? Like, excuse me? In reality, the producers often skip over these parts since they're considered boring and repetitive and take a lot of time. So in this video, we're going to be showing you what actually goes on behind the scenes of these shows and how bodywork is actually done. And who's better to do this than a professionally trained auto body mechanic, also known as my dad? And what car is better to demonstrate it on than my 2015 Dodge Challenger that we've been fixing lately? It is just full of dents all over. So I say, let's get straight to it.
Okay, one of the first misconceptions that people have about bodywork is that we would just take a dent like this and fill it full of Bondo, shape it and sand it, and that would be the end of it. But in order to do a repair properly, you have to understand the art of metalworking. So metalworking is basically repositioning the sheet metal back to its original position as best as possible, so it needs a minimal amount of body filler. I'll just draw a picture to show you an example. So when you have a dent, the panel is in, but it also goes out beside it, so the dent is actually shaped like this. So we have to force this metal back this way, at the same time as we're forcing this metal back down this way. So that's the basics of sheet metalworking.
So Dad, how do you then pull out a dent like that?
Well, if you have access to the back of the panel, like in this case here is your low spot, you can actually just physically push it with a block or a big hammer or whatever you want to use. Or you can use this tool here. This is called a dolly. There's different shapes to match the sheet metal. And you would actually push it from the back while you're tapping the other side down with a hammer.
Okay.
So in the case of a door, for example,
right,
the door is too closed off. So you'd have this panel here.
There's two different pieces of panel, the dent's hidden in between the two.
Yeah, so you can't actually get in behind her to push that out. Then you have to actually pull this out. So then you would actually weld a tab on there, or in the olden days, they would drill a hole and put a hook through it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, like it would create more work even.
Yeah, no kidding.
The newer ways, you actually weld a pin on there, and then you would pull that pin out, either with, like it would have a hammer effect on it, or we have this other pulling tool where it welds a handle onto it, and you can actually pull it out at the same time as hammering this down.
Right. So then, where are we going to start, Dad?
Well, let's first of all find out if we do have access from the back side of it, because if we do have access, it'll make it a lot easier than right away get into pulling it. If we can get from the back side, we can
start pushing it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So let's take a look.
Hello. Well, looks like we can't get access to the inside, so we'll have to pull it out from the outside.
There we go. There we go.
Wow. Yeah, brake squeaking, but oh man, is that thing loud. Alright guys, we got a whole bunch of equipment here ready for some poling, and the metal's all stripped, so what are we starting off with, Dad?
I just want to show you the industry standard for pulling dents. This is what every body man learns on. We use these little pins here, and you put them in the gun like that. You weld it to the panel by pulling the trigger, and it's stuck on there like that.
Nice.
Then we take this hammer here, and it has a little clamp on the inside. And you turn it, and it tightens. And it's got this hammer on here, and you basically you can pull the dent out by pulling.
Okay.
By hammering it, or you can just pull on it. Then we have this other tool here. It's also for pulling. Instead of having a reusable or a throwaway pin, it has this little tip on here, and you basically put it against the panel, pull the trigger, and it's welded to it, and then you can actually pull on it.
Interesting.
And then to release it, you just twist it and it comes right off.
So it's basically a bigger and better version that goes way faster, and you don't need to buy all those pins separately.
That's right, it goes really quick. This tool also has an attachment where we use this special wire here. We call it wiggle wire.
Oh yeah, I can see why.
You can see why, yeah. It's really good for body lines, like this body line that runs right through the middle of this dent.
Oh yeah.
So we'll weld it right to the middle of that spot there. The spots that reach down will be welded, and then it'll leave these open loops here.
Yeah.
And then those open loops, we have this attachment where all these hooks in here.
Yeah, we'll actually hook onto the little loops.
Yeah, and then by doing that, these are also slotted.
Okay.
So it'll start pulling where it needs to at first, and then eventually it'll all be equal. And then it'll come out really easily.
It pulls it equally. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And then we're going to be using this come along here to actually put tension on that device while it's basically welded to the car.
Yeah, and that way when there's tension on that body line, then we can work out the rest of the damage around it.
Awesome.
So let's give that a try.
Sounds good. Wow, that's cool. So aggressive. Nice. Rationing it. Oh. That definitely pulled it out.
That.
It's already straight. Wow.
There.
Alright guys, we just finished doing all the metal work. We did all this off camera as well. That was a whole bunch of work. It actually turned out really good. Now it's time for some body filler.
So yeah, when we were at the stage now where we're doing body filler, we have to remember that the better the metalworking is done, the less body filler it's going to need, which is also a good thing. And it also is way quicker, a lot less work that you have to spend on doing body filler work. So when it comes to body filler work, there's a couple different ways of doing it. Some people will put on an epoxy primer coat first. Some people will just go straight to filler and just regular filler right over the bare metal. And then there's a different way where you put on a fiber reinforced Duraglass filler. And that's the way I prefer to do it. A couple reasons for that. One is that the fiber reinforced filler will help for flexing. The panels tend to really flex a lot, especially like a door or a fender.
Yeah, we did that on the roof especially because it's a very flexible area.
Because when you're driving a car, these panels are actually flexing quite a bit.
Yeah, and vibrating.
Your panel has got filler in it, you don't want that to crack.
Yeah.
Because then that's where moisture will come in and it'll start
rust.
Yeah. So if we have a fiber reinforced filler underneath there, then we can always put regular filler over top.
And the fiber reinforced filler is waterproof as well, so we don't have to worry about rust underneath it.
Yeah, and that's the reason why some people will put epoxy primer on there first.
Okay.
But this way it takes care of both matters.
Cool. So let's slap some body filler on this.
The best way to be. My mind, it always races through all these different places. I just wanna be free. Tell me what to do. I'm not listening to you. Don't tell me what to say. It don't matter anyway. Don't tell me what to do.
Alright guys, we just got all the body filler on there. It looks like a lot, but now we're going to get into sanding a lot of it off. So how are we going to do that, Dad?
Well, when you start sanding filler, you have to understand the grits. Like there's different grits of sandpaper, and you start with the coarsest grit first. So you want to start with like 40 grit in this case, because this filler is very strong, very tough. It's very hard to sand. So we're going to use 40 grit to get this cut down first. Later on, when we get to the other fillers and putties, then we'll work with different grits that are finer and finer as we get closer to the final steps.
Okay, cool. So let's get sanding. Alright guys, there you have it. All the body work is done, and in total we estimated the amount of time it took was about 24 hours to do both the metalworking and filler work, which is a lot of time, and I hope you guys appreciate now how much time goes on behind the scenes to do all this body work and on these TV shows, because of course this stuff can be boring and repetitive and super dusty, as you can obviously see. I hope you guys learned a lot from this video and appreciate the body men that tackle these jobs. And of course, if you're interested in watching more of this Challenger video, go watch that playlist. I'll link it on the screen here. There you can watch the rest of the videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.
Put it against the panel, pull the trigger, and nothing happens.
Nice.
It's the Duraglass.
And who's better to do this than my professionally trained dad?